Hi friends, it's Mads and Socks. Welcome to episode 3 of Millend Makes. This episode is going to be a little bit different to the episodes that I filmed previously. It's not going to be a vlog style episode, it's going to be shorter because I've been hit by the curse of the Millends again. And if you're not sure what curse I'm talking about, go check out episode 2 because without spoiling it, let's just say a couple of things happened that caused some problems along the way. And I have been hit by the curse again. Hopefully it's not in threes because bad things usually tend to happen in threes. So hopefully this is the last episode that I am cursed. But essentially what happened was I filmed, the intro and the beginning part as normal. I put my project away for a couple weeks because I was working on other things, and I ended up coming back to it a couple weeks later, filming a little update. And when I was deleting one of my drafts, because I had misspoke, I do that a lot, like I take multiple takes because I always just, say weird things and then have to go back and refilm. I realized my camera was saying that there was only 3 videos on my camera. And that was not correct because I had filmed probably 5 different takes, in that 2 weeks prior, the intro, the beginning, plus I'd also taken a bunch of pictures for the thumbnail and things like that. And I was like, whatever, it must be just my camera being weird. I continued filming along the day, but it was sort of eating up at me, so I decided the next day to pop my SD card into my computer just to check it out, because when I put it in a couple days before, all of the videos were there, all of the pictures were there, so I was like, maybe it's just my camera being weird, not reading the SD card correctly. But I was wrong. I had essentially lost basically everything, and it was only the things that I'd recorded the previous day that were on my SD card, so I have no idea what happened. Everything just disappeared. Luckily for me, this was the only episode that was on there. I did do other things in between, which you will see soon. I did a 24-hour crochet thing. Luckily I got that edited and it is scheduled to come out soon, so definitely stay tuned for that if you're interested. But I would cry if I lost all of that footage because that was 24 hours of just non-stop crocheting. But luckily, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. The curse has happened, it's gone. So I'm just going to show you what I've made, so it's sort of going to be like a show and tell rather than a vlog, which if you like this sort of, just show you the project and not actually follow along for the journey, this curse works in your favor, so hooray. It was a bit upsetting for me, but whatever. So in this episode, we worked with blanket yarn, and if you haven't seen my Christmas yarn haul video, I'll pop it up here. I always forget which way it is. I think it's up here. If you're interested in having a look, but essentially I purchased 4 different Millend bags of blanket yarn. There were 2 bags of a colorful pastel kind of short changing color change blanket yarn, and 2 bags of black. And when I looked at that, my mind went to stained glass window, which I actually love. I love the stained glass window look. I'd actually done a previous Millend kind of blanket or throw. It's more like a really large oversized mosaic blanket swatch because this was before I had my channel. I was pretty new to crochet and I didn't realize how much yarn it would take to actually make up a normal size blanket. And it was my first time doing mosaic crochet, so this is what I did. And to save me from having a gazillion ends to deal with, I did it lengthwise. So I just did a really big row and then sort of just worked up that way, not realizing that 2 bags of Millends wouldn't really get me far. So this is what we've got. It's very a very short kind of banner. But this is my previous sort of stained glass look. I just used 2 bags of Millends, 1 bag of the colored, 1 bag of the white, and then this gray that I did an envelope border with was actually the leftovers from this. This was also made from Millends. A couple bags, the yellow was completely used up. The gray, I'm pretty sure I only used 1 or half the bag, and I had half the bag left, so I used it to border this. But when I was making this, one of the things that I had swatched to see how the color would sort of work up was the millstone stitch, which I liked, but this particular yarn had very long color changes and it didn't look as what I had envisioned, so I ended up going with mosaic crochet instead. But I did sort of just keep that as a mental note that if I found a really lovely yarn that has quick color changes and I think it will look really good in the millstone stitch, that I would make a throw out of that. So that's what I did. So If you've watched my yarn haul video from Christmas, you will know that I have never worked with hanks before, and 3 out of the 4 bags were in hanks. One of the black bags had skeins, but surprisingly I didn't do too bad. I only took 40 minutes for my first one, which I'm saying only because I honestly expected it to be worse. I just had never worked with hanks before, so I didn't know what to do. I unhanked it as normal, you know, just ended up balling it up, but it ended up getting tangled on itself. So it took me 40 minutes to do the first one. I was like, whatever. Left it alone, went to make a cake because we had a busy weekend coming up, and then came back to it and my brain was like, what if you shook it out? Which everyone who works with hanks is probably like, duh, that's what you're supposed to do, Mads. But you know, I had never worked with hanks before, but I decided after I unhanked it just to sort of like shake it out to help it untangle from itself, and that worked for the rest of the hanks that I had to ball up. It only took me about 5 minutes to do the remaining, like 5 minutes per hank, which is pretty good considering the first one took me 40 minutes, and I ended up balling up all of the 3 bags of hanks before midnight that day basically, which is like super great because I had a busy weekend planned and I was going to take that project with me. So enough of blabbering. I'm just going to show you what I made, which is this gorgeous throw. Look how pretty. Hopefully you can see the colors in my camera. It's really short color changes and there's a lot of colors in each like stained glass window. There's like pinks and purples and blues and yellows. It's very pretty. It's not a huge throw, but we have a small couch, so you know it's not that big of a deal, but it's so pretty. To me it sort of looks like mermaids or fish scales, and I think it'll be really cute, you know, if I ended up buying another one of this to sort of make one of those mermaid blankets, which I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's like sort of like a little sleeping bag and it's like a mermaid tail. It's really pretty, and that's what this reminds me of. So I love how it turned out. It's very, very pretty. I love the way that the colors sort of played out. There's a lot of pinks and purples on the edges, on the top and the bottom of the blanket, and pinks and purples in the middle. So it's not like just color pooling, you know, like all the pinks and purples in the middle. It spreads out really well. It's so beautiful. I love it. It is great. So I ended up using just over half of my Millends for this. I think I had around 3 balls left over, but I didn't want to make this super big, so I decided to make a cushion cover for like this to match this. So I made this and it's very cute. It matches that perfectly. It's the exact same stitch. I did use the modified millstone stitch by Be Creative Crafts. I'm just having a look at my computer just to make sure I'm giving you the right information, which essentially instead of cutting the yarn on each row and dealing with a million ends, you just do 2 rounds of each color or 2 rows of each color, so you're not actually like cutting your ends, you're just carrying up the yarn. So that's what I did, the modified millstone stitch. The tutorial that I sort of used was Happily Stained Blanket. I will put that link in the description box below, but I just used that stitch for both the throw and this pillow. It's really cute. I just use black at the back and it's sort of like an envelope so I can take out the cushion if I need to. I was hoping to make 2 of them because I did have 2 square cushions like this, but I ended up realizing fairly quickly once I was making the black bit that I wasn't going to have enough yarn left, and I didn't really want to rip it out and, you know, use more of the colorful yarn at the back because it's the back, no one's going to see it. So I ended up having, I think, about 200 grams of yarn left, and so I made a beanie with the blanket yarn. It is so soft. If you guys have never felt blanket yarn before, you're missing out because it's so incredibly soft, and this will be perfect for the really cold days that we have in Melbourne. And the colors have played out really beautifully, so depending on what color I want closer to my face, if I want, you know, blues or yellows or pinks or purples, I can just sort of rotate the hat or the beanie and, you know, pop it on there. I do have a hair clip on my head, so it might look really weird, but it is very, very pretty, and I ended up basically using most of it. I did have a couple of tiny balls of yarn left over, but there wasn't really much I could do with that, so that just went into my scraps and will become amigurumi stuffing. So that is it for Millend Makes episode number 3. It's a very short episode, unlike my other ones. Hopefully the curse doesn't follow me into the next episode. But thank you so much for joining me for this short little episode. I will catch you in my next one. Bye!